Good evening and welcome back to our weekly question and answer series for anash.org. The last 2-3 weeks came in some questions regarding Inyonim and Purim. Although we still have a week before Purim, but since people need to prepare, so we'll discuss some Purim questions which came in. First of all, this week, upcoming Shabbos will be Shabbos Zechor. With Shabbos Zechor we know there's a mitzvah, deraisa, that people should hear, listen, Pashas Zechor in a Sefer Torah, in a shul with 10 people. Now, if women are machiev, that's machloikes achroinim, but the minig is that women go to shul to listen Pashas Zechor. So the first question, which is, my parents are now quarantined due to COVID. What should they do about Pashas Zechor? So the answer to this question is like this. If they're not sick, they're only quarantined because they came in contact with somebody which is sick, and they could go out and go to shul, not going into shul, chas v'sholem, but staying, let's say, outside and listening through a window, that will be the best thing. But not always it's practical, and also sometimes, I don't know exactly the situation regarding this question, but sometimes we're talking about a situation which they are sick already. So they cannot go to shul, even staying outside, listening through the window. So the first thing, if it's a place where there's a Erev, and you could bring a Sefer Torah to their house with a minyan, then you could bring a Sefer Torah. The Mishmir writes in the Simon Kif Lamad Hai that you could bring for a choila, if there's a minyan, you could bring a Sefer Torah. Although it's not so pashut, but akapunim, if this is, since the mitzvah deraisa, if this is an option where there's an erev, you have 10 people to come and listen to Shabbos Zechor, so that's an option. But if it's not shaykh, so if when it comes Purim, they will be out of quarantine and they will be able to go in shul, so then when they lay in the Sefer Torah, Purim in the morning, they read Vayuve Hamulek, which is the end of Parshas Beshalach. And the Mungam Vroom writes in Simon Tufrash Pai Hai that a person which has in mind to be Yoitze with Yuve Amulaik, it is also Mekayim, he fulfills the mitzvah of Zechiras Maasai Amulaik. So therefore, if Purim he goes in shul and has in mind that he wants to be Yoitze with Yuve Amulaik, he will be also Yoitze the mitzvah. But since there are some poskim which disagree with the Mungam Vroom, including the Mishnah Brira asks on the Mungam Vroom, so therefore it is kedai that after being in shul by Yuve Amulaik, in listening and having a mind to be Yoitze, when it comes in the end of the summer, when it comes to Parshas Kisaitzai, and you read the Parshas from Zechiras Amulaik, that means the Parsha which we learn this week, Pashas Zechor, you should have in mind to be Yoitze the mitzvah of Zechiras Mas HaMulaik, and it's kedai that you should tell for the Shlich Tzibur, for the Baal Koire, should have your mind, because the mitzvah says that the has to be kavana from the moitzi and the yoitzi. So therefore, it's kedai that you should tell for the Baal Koire that he should have your mind to be moitze, which reading the parsha of Mechis HaMulaik. That means after being in Shul Purim, since there are some shittas which you are not yoitze with it, you should have it in mind by Parshas Kisaitzai. If when it comes Purim, you're still in quarantine and basically you cannot go to Shul, so then this week, Shabbos, you should take a Chumash and you should read from a Chumash, you should read the Kriya of Parsha Zechor, and like the Ramu says, that you should read it with the timing, as if you read it in Sefer Torah, and at least you're yoitze the mitzvah esed reise, because the das from Chischenach, and mitzvah tuf tuf reish gimel, and Chivas ben Yishloima, and Pashtas Ramu over here, is the mitzvah esed reise, you will be yoitze from a Chumash. Now, the Chazal, the mitzvah midrabon is that you should have a Sefer Torah, but in a way that you cannot do it, at least you should take a Chumash and be yotzed mitzvah esed reise by learning the Chumash now the Shabbos before Purim. And again, when it comes to Parshas Kisaitzai, and then you'll be for sure out of quarantine, so then you should have kavana to be yotzed the mitzvahs esed reise, because again, as we mentioned before, the Chassam Sofer in Ebenezer, Semakifites writes that a person listens in Parshas Kisaitzai to the Parsha of Mechiris Amulaik, with that he's also yoytze the mitzvahs esed reise. So he should read Purim, he should read it with a Chumash, and then he should read in Parshas Kisaitzai, he should read with a biyoytze then. Next question. Can one give Mishloach Monos in the year of Avelis? So, if it's in the Shloishim, so you don't send Mishloach Monos. Only one, because you have to be Mekayim the mitzvah. But if it's Avelis within the 12 months on your parents, and it's after the Shloishim, some poskim write that you could send Mishloach Monos, and that's the Remu, Pashas the Remu, and Semetufrash Tzadik Vov, and other people do not send to you. And when you send to Mishloach Monos, you shouldn't send to a lot of people. Like the Ben Ish Chai writes, only to one person. But the Pri Megudim, in his Tshuvas, Shal Shivas Magidas, Simani Ches writes that if it's after Shloishim, you could send even more. But you shouldn't send things which is Dvurim Shel Simcha, lavish things. You know, just a plain Mishloach Monos. So to sum it up, it's like this. If it's after the Shloishim, and it's in the 12 months of your parents, nobody sends to you Mishloach Monos, but you could send Mishloach Monos to other, at least one, to be Mekayim the mitzvah, and according to the Pri Megudim, you could send even more, but not in Yonam of Simcha. Question about Purim dress up concerning Bas Mitzvah girls and up. According to Halacha, it is permitted on Purim to dress up and walk around in the street in Kronites with some flashy costumes or not. And what about modest costumes? And please also give some details about what means modest costumes according to Halacha. So it's two questions. The first question is flashing costumes. Now, if the clothing, the costumes is betznias, that means all the places which needs to be covered is covered. It's a tznias diga costume. So a girl of Bas Mitzvah is permitted to wear it. Now, even if it's a little bit flashy, that means even it has, let's say, striking red color, which all year round, it's not permitted to wear outfits which is red, because it attracts people. And we know the famous Gemara, which one of the Tanoim went on the street and he saw a lady going with the flashy red color, and he stripped it off from her, and then he realized it was a big, it was a goy, and she was basically Mekirev Lamalchis. So we see that all year round, and that's bring down in halacha, a person cannot go with flashy red colors, or b'chalal really flashy colors cannot go during the all year round. But Purim is, you could be a makel, because Purim, people go around all kind of costumes, and it's not so striking because it's the whole Purim is colorful. So Purim, you could be makel. If it's tzniazdik, it is only flashy. Now, if it's not, if it's really not, it's modest, which is basically not even flashy, you can be makel even if she's older than bas mitzvah. She should dress up in a costume, but she should not. No, a man should not dress up like a lady, and a lady should not dress up like a man. Although the Remu writes in Shulchan Aruch that the minig is to be makel. You could be Michael, but Lamasi, the Poiskim, the Bach and other Poiskim are choilik on the Remu, and that's the minig that you don't dress. Even Purim, there is a Isser of Lasilbash Gever, not like the Remu. Just a note, an interesting note. I was once with one of my cousins on Purim, and their daughters were dressed up like boys. And it came in a group of Bachurim, and they came in, they collect money, and they start dancing. And they went around that all of us should start dancing together with them. And they went over to the girls, which were dressed like men, that they should pick themselves up and start dancing. Till the girls realized that, it's not a joke. They start screaming, we are girls, we are not boys. So they stopped. But what do we see? That you have to watch even Purim, not only because of the halacha which the Bach and other poskim say that there's aser mi'adin to wear, a man should wear costumes of a woman and vice versa, because there's the Isra of Silbash Gever, not like the Remu which is Michael and Purim, but there is in any case not kedai, because you can come to a lot of mechshoilas. Next question. Is it permissible on Purim for a girl after bas mitzvah or a woman to walk dressed up in general, and particular in the streets of Crown Heights where there is so many bachurim as well as men? So basically, it's a little bit like the above question, but over here, b'chalal, the question is: should you permit a girl to dress up after bar mitzvah, above the bas mitzvah, and to go down in the streets? Now again, if it's modest and if it's not striking and it's not made to attract boys, bachurim, and she's not dressed in a way it's provocative, then at least till 16 years old you could be Michael. A girl from 16, 17 and up should stop going around dressed up and walking down the streets. But till a 15, 16-year-old girl could wear, if it's not provocative, just let's say she makes her face or she dresses up, then it's not a problem. But if it's provocative, or she does it because she wants to go down the streets and starts conversations with boys, we should know that Purim is the Shulchan Aruch, the same Shulchan Aruch as all year round, and Purim is one of the holiest days in the year. It's Yom Kippurim. Yom Kippur is like Purim, so we shouldn't butcher up with doing stupid things and things which is not permitted. Question. This year Purim falls out on Friday. When should you make the Purim Suda? And when should you make it in a Chabad house? This is a very popular question this year, and let's address it a little bit. The Remu writes in Simatuf Reish Tzadik Hai Siv Beis that a year like this, which Purim falls on Friday, you should make the Su'udah in the morning. The Mishnah Berurah writes, what does it mean in the morning? Before Chatzois Hayom. Why? Because it's Friday, and Friday you cannot make big Su'udas, lavish Su'udas after afternoon Friday, as we know. So the Mishnah Berurah writes, what the Muramur says it should be in the morning, it means before Chatzois. But the Adafrayim, on the spot, over there writes, and it brings a Maril that says no, it doesn't mean before Chatzois, it means before Shu Asiris. Shu Asiris, which is in New York, our time, I checked at least in Muncie, it's 3:24 will be Shu Asiris. That means you should eat the Suda, at least start the Suda, before 3:24. Now, this is the Adafrayim B'Shem the Maril. And it looks like that the Alter Rebbe also goes with this Shitta, that it does not mean you should make it in the morning. It means that you should make it before Shu Asiris, which is before Mincha Ketana. Because the Alter Rebbe writes in Sima Reish Mem Tes, Siv Zayin, that's in Hilchah Shabbos, that any Sudas Mitzvah, which the time is to do it Erev Shabbos, like a Sudas Bris, Mila, or a Sudas Pidin Aben, you are permitted to make on Friday, but the Alter Rebbe writes, Mitzvah, Lahaschil HaSuda, Lekitchile, it's Kedai, that you should start the Suda before Mincha Ketana, before Shu Asiris, Mincha Ketana. Because after Shu Asiris, it's not permitted to Kavai Asida, Asidis Rishus. And therefore, you should, even such a Sudas Mitzvah, you should start before. Now, this you have to know, you cannot wash a regular Friday, you cannot wash after Mincha Ketana. So the Alter Rebbe writes, even as this mitzvah, it's kedai that you should make before Shu Asiris. So the same as a Pidin Aben and a Bris Mila, the Alter Rebbe writes it should be before Shu Asiris. So, and it doesn't mention Bachlal you should do it in the morning. So we see that the Alter Rebbe holds that Sudas Purim you don't have to make in the morning. You could make it after Chatzois, but at least it should be before Mincha Ketana. That's Pashtas of the Alter Rebbe. But the Ketzois HaShilchen brings in Siman Samach Tes, Siv Gimel, in Bad HaShilchen, and he says that we cannot compare Sudas Mitzvah like Pidin Aben Amila to a Sudas Purim, because Sudas Purim you get drunk, because there's a mitzvah to Lebasima Bepiriya, you should drink a lot of wine, so therefore you should make it in the morning. So the Ketzois HaShilchen and Mishmiri holds you should do it in the morning, and the Adafrayim and Pashas the Alter Rebbe, you could do it after Chatzois, but you have to do it before Mincha Ketana. So this is the thing in your house, what you could do. A person in his house, if you could do it before Chatzois, it's a vadigit, it's for sure the best option. If you cannot, you could do it after Chatzois, but for Mincha Ketana, as I mentioned before 3:24. There's a third option, which is not recommended a person should do it in his house, but when it comes to Beis Chabad, it could be adopted if you need to. Because in a Beis Chabad, you have to collect the people. Now the people are working. Friday, it's a regular day by a lot of people. So only when they're going to finish their Suda, they're working, they're going to come. So they could come maybe a little bit earlier, they're going to stop working at 4. So they have to still listen to the Megillah and wash through the Purim. And it won't happen that you should, if you divide it. So there's an option which is called Poeris Mape Mekadesh, which the Mugen Avrum brings down in Sima Tufrash Tzadik Hai Sif Kuten Tez B'Shem HaMotcha. What does it mean? That means like this. You daven mincha before you do anything. You daven mincha, You do all the mitzvahs hayoim. That means Kris HaMegillah, Mishloach Monas, Matunas Lavyoinim. Then you start the Sudas Purim, you wash, you drink wine, you make your gofi, you drink wine. When it comes to the Zman of Adlokas Hanayres, which is in the calendar, you stop eating and drinking, and the women go and light the candles for Shabbos. And the men also stop eating then. Nobody eats after Kabbalah Shabbos. Now, after the women light the candles, you bring in 2 whole chalas, lechem mishnah, because Shabbos you need lechem mishnah. Purim you didn't need lechem mishnah, but Shabbos you need lechem mishnah. You cover it up with a mappa in order when you make Kiddush, it should be covered like every Shabbos. You say Shalom Aleichem v'Eishes Chayil, whatever you say before Kiddush. You fill up a cup wine and you say Kiddush. Like a regular Shabbos. But if you made a Boire Priya Gufen already, before, when you started the Sudas Purim, you drank wine, so you already made the Berches Boire Priya Gufen on wine, so you shouldn't make any more the Boire Priya Gufen because you made already, and you're still in the middle of the Suda. So you don't make a Boire Priya Gufen. You make Kiddush, you give for all the people who are Yoitze Kiddush a little bit wine. If they already made a Boire Priya Gufen, they don't make a bracha. If they didn't make a Boire Priya Gufen, that means they didn't drink wine, they make a bracha. So anyone who made the bracha a gufen, don't make a bracha now. Afterwards, you take the 2 chalas, you don't wash your hands, you don't make hamoitzi because you make your milah vasuda. You take the 2 chalas, you cut her up, and you eat the kezayis. So that's the Seder Shabbos together with Seder Purim. So the Seder Purim you start before lighting the candles of Shabbos. In the middle of the Suda, after drinking wine and eating challah, you stop by when it comes to lighting the candles. You light the candles. Once you light the candles, you bring a lechem mishnah. You make Kiddush. You don't make a gufen since you made a gufen already. Then you take the lechem mishnah, you cut up the lechem mishnah without making a berachas hamoitzi, and you eat the kezayis. When it comes to berachas hamozen, and then you finish the seder as long as you want. When it comes afterwards to berachas hamozen, since you ate the kezayis after tzesek chovim, you say al hanisim and you say yeretzai. If you didn't eat a kezayis after tzesek chovim, you don't say yeretzai, but you should eat. Make sure to eat the kezayis after tzesek chovim, and then you're going to say al hanisim and retzai. After you finished benching, you say Kabbalah Shabbos and you daven Ma'ariv. That's an option which you do in Beis Chabad. Regularly a person should not do it because we know the Magen Avraham writes in Simar Reish Ayin Aleph, and Alter Rebbe brings it also down in Simar Reish Ayin Aleph Sifid Aleph, that Baal Nefesh, a person which is Yirah Shamayim, a Baal Nefesh, do not do this because you're going into Machlokes of Achronim, so you don't do it. And also we know, according to the Arizal, you don't eat Suda Shabbos before davening Kabbalah Shabbos and Ma'ariv. So therefore, you shouldn't do this option only if you have no choice. And in Beis Chabad, which you have no choice because you want that they should come and listen to the Megillah. You want that they should do Mishloach Munas Matunas Yoinam, and they should eat the Sidas Purim, which is also a chiyuv to eat Sidas Purim. So therefore, if you don't have an option, then you could do it in the Beis Chabad. One more question. Can you give Matonas Levyoinim from Moas Maaser? The answer is no, you cannot give matunas l'yoinim in Mishloach Munas through money of Maser. Why? Because anything which you are machiyev to do, it's a mitzvah you need to do, it's a tkona in a choiva which Chazal put on you, you cannot give from Maser. Because it is as if you are paying for Maser a thing which you are machiyev, praya choiva b'Maser, and we cannot do that. So again, you cannot give Mishloach Munas or matunas l'yoinim for mus Maser. But giving matunas l'yoinim is only for 2 people, 2 aniyim. Whenever you give more than for 2 people, you give a lot of tzedakah purim. Anything which is more for the 2 people, you could give from mus Maser. Only the money which you give for matunas l'yoinim, which you are machiyev, you cannot give a Maser. But whatever you give more than mus Maser, more than your machiyev, you could give from Maser Geld. Okay, we're going to stop here, and please join us next week and send in your questions to inbox@anash.org. Good night and have a wonderful week.